Next question is, are all pieces of dialogue necessary and fulfill their role to drive the plot? Now, there wasn't too much external dialogue, so I gave it 7 glow points. There wasn't too much external dialogue, which is okay, because I wouldn't waste dialogue if they're not gonna really say anything that matters. So I felt as though the external dialogue that was included was definitely necessary and useful, and they do their job to drive the plot, as well as the inner dialogue itself. Usually the dialogue would say something about the character, would reveal a quality about the character, especially in the cafe when she meets this guy and he's ordering his food. He was looking at her for a second and then he didn't look back, and then she says, he didn't look at me again, and because of my pride I told myself he was in a relationship or gay. So things like that, dialogues that tell people a little bit more about the main character. So I feel like that did fulfill its role, but some inner dialogue might not have been necessary. Like, for instance, in the beginning, on the first page, she's on the train and she's seeing this guy and he's watching something, like watching Harry Potter, and she has no headphones and it's super loud, and she's just kind of watching him, watching what he's doing. I guess it might say a little bit about the main character, but I don't think it says enough about the main character, and I don't think it drives the plot to continue on to the next scene or anything like that. So in my opinion, I didn't really find it too necessary. But most of the dialogue, external and internal, are definitely necessary. They do their job to drive the plot. They do their job to highlight the qualities of the narrator. They do their job, Question 7 is, are all pieces of dialogue emotionally true? I gave it 8 glow points, because I don't think there is a point where the characters would just kind of go off script. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't act out of character. Like, she set up the character and it was consistent with the character's behavior, with their thought processes, and everything, She was very consistent with the character development. It has 2 grow points because I still felt like I didn't know that much about the character in the first place to really tell necessarily if they go off script. I feel like she was very consistent, but at the same time I still feel like I didn't know for sure, just because I didn't really know her, the character. That's what I'm saying. Does that make any sense? I feel like that's to be expected a little bit. When you're doing short stories, you have a very small amount of space. That's why short stories are terrible. I can't do them. I suck at short stories so much because I want to do so much. It's never going to be condensed into like a few pages. I just can't do it. But it's to be expected. Question number 8, is there enough balance between exposition and action? I gave it 6 glow and 4 grow, just because there is exposition and there is action, but there was a lot more exposition than action. But what did balance it was the immense introspective inner dialogue that existed in the space between action and exposition, because they're telling us about who the narrator is, but at the same time it's not necessarily exposition. It's not necessarily just talking and explaining things and setting up the story, but it's not action either, because it's thoughts, it's inner dialogue. So that inner dialogue kind of made the balance between exposition and action, I just personally feel like, a little bit more action is warranted. What I mean by action is just things that are literally happening. Like, it's really hard to describe action besides that. Like, something that's literally happening in the story. Like, somebody somewhere is doing something, as opposed to somebody just thinking. Or exposition is where you're just explaining things and setting up the story. So I would always try and push for more action, because action is the most compelling part of the story. I feel like of just the narrative structure, people always gravitate to what people are doing, like the actual actions of the story. Question 9. Is the beginning of the story compelling and strong? Yes, 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 yes. It's very, very strong. I'm very, very proud. I took the first sentence, the first paragraph, and the first page, and I definitely said the first sentence is very beautiful. The first paragraph is very beautiful. The first page, I was not as impressed, but it's still very compelling. I was very interested in the train ride. I was very interested to know where the final destination was, and it was very wise of her to keep that until the end. But the first line and the first paragraph were super clever, but I felt like due to the tone, I was expecting something a little bit more suspenseful, given the nature of the first line and the first paragraph. Let me read it for you guys. The train is moving out of the station, and it steps into the dark the way one steps into the sea. Every wobbly inch away from the station only sours my mood. I didn't want to be on this train, and I will have to spend it in the dark, holding my breath. Doesn't that sound suspenseful? That sounds very suspenseful. But it's such a great line. But like I said, I was expecting something more suspenseful than what actually happened, but it's still good. It's still good. I'm very happy. I'm very happy with the story. It's a very great story. It was written very well, and I was still very much itching to know where the final destination was. And yeah. So the beginning was super compelling and super strong, and I'm very, very proud, because beginnings are super hard. They're so hard, you guys. They're really, 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 really hard. And that was beautiful. I love it. And the last question is the ending strong and compelling? Does it wrap up the story in a nice, neat little bow, or does it leave an open ending? I gave this one 10 glow points. 10. All 10 points. Glowing. 10 glow points, 0 grow points. I felt very, very satisfied. I felt like I didn't need anything else after that, It felt good. It felt complete, It was it was interesting because it does both. What I mean by that is it does wrap the story up in a nice little bow, but at the same time it does leave it open-ended, because we don't really know what's gonna happen to the narrator next. And I feel like it was super clever. I feel like it was really awesome. I'm very proud of it. Beginnings and endings are like the hardest part, and this girl, she just she aced it. 10 out of 10, A+. It was killing it. You were killing it. Mimi, you were killing it. Super, 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 super proud. All right. I just want to give my final thoughts before I give the score. Well, wait, it's not time for final thoughts. It's time for favorite quotes. And I'm just going to put it up there for you guys to see. thoughts. I wanted to just give my final thoughts super quickly about the story as a whole. I really, really liked it. I'm very pleased. I'm very impressed. I feel like the biggest strengths, Mimi's biggest strengths, were the description of the scenery, setting up the scenery and the setting. It was awesome, and introspective dialogue is definitely her strong suit as well. And I'm super, super proud. I'm very glad to read it. She sent me a few other things too that I haven't read yet, but I'm super excited to. I'm just going to put up all the scores for all 10 questions for you right now, so you can review. And my final score is, of course, she gets 100 points, 10 out of 10. But glow points are a 75 and grow points are a 25. Now that's a dope score, you guys. That is really, really, really good. Because let me tell y'all something right now. You ain't finna get 100 points out of me. You ain't finna get 100 glow points or 100 grow points out of me. It's never gonna happen. Shakespeare will never have that happen. I will never give myself that score. I promise you. There's always room for growth, and there's always something that somebody is good at. Something that somebody's the boss at. You know what I'm saying? So that's the score. Totally recommend it. It's really cute. It's really good. I like it a lot. I can't wait to read what you got next. And thank you so much, Mimi, for submitting your work. I can't wait for you guys to submit your work as well. Please don't be shy. Don't hesitate. You want to submit your work? Get on my Instagram and wait for the next time I post about subscriber submissions to receive your instructions. And I cannot wait to read you guys' stuff. And I really hope this video was helpful. I really hope it helps some of you guys to get an idea of what to look for and how to, not necessarily how to write, but mostly how to edit and revise. Because you should just write your feelings and write whatever it is you have in your thoughts. Just put it down on paper. And this is the stuff you think about when it's time to edit and revise. So that's the video for today. That's my very first review. Big up and bless ups to all of you, and have an awesome day.